Roronoa Zoro. Miyamoto Musashi was a legendary Japanese swordsman, famous for his desire to become the greatest swordsman by defeating everyone else. He was a badass who went into battle with two swords, but if Musashi was a badass, what do we call a warrior who also wants to defeat the best swordsman in the world, but goes charging into battle with three swords? We call him Roronoa Zoro, the pirate hunter, and one of the most powerful swordsmen in the entire world. He's one of the only two non-captain members of the worst generation, 12 of the most wanted and infamous pirates alive, who each had a bounty of 100 million berries at least before reaching the Grand Line. Born in the East Blue, Roronoa Zoro is a descendant of the famed Shimotsuki family of swordsmen and was pretty much a blade-wielding prodigy right from the outset. He was raised and trained by the village dojo master and could easily defeat most opponents, including adults, even as a child. With one exception, the daughter of the dojo master, Kuina. Man, that must have been a hard blow too, to beat all those grown warriors and then to lose to a little girl. The pain from losing was so bad that our guy challenged Kuina 2,000 times, and lost every single time. Hey, at least no one can accuse him of not giving his best, right? Eventually, Zoro and Kuina made a promise to each other to become the greatest swordsman in the world, a promise which Kuina is, unfortunately, not able to keep after dying in a fatal fall down the stairs. Damn, that was a big tragedy and a really bad way to pass away. Zoro was shocked, and as you can imagine, very pissed off at this very lame death of his friend, who was set to become one of the greatest swordsmen of all time. In honor of their shared dream, Zoro took her sword, the Wado Ichimonji, ensuring that a piece of her is always with him, on his journey to achieve the promise. This katana might have some surprises in my point of view. I think it has some sort of secret power, even if it's not one of the best katanas. Unlike most other members of the worst generation, Zoro is not a devil fruit user and relies on his own physical abilities and mastery of the sword to overwhelm his foes. He can slice a ship in two with a single slash. He's the only other person since his ancestor Shimotsuki Ryuma to kill a dragon, and has fought and defeated a ton of insanely powerful opponents, such as King, Pika, and other big shots before the time skip. Oh, he even severely injured Kaido itself. That episode was so hype. As we said, Zoro becomes extremely powerful. He has the role of vice captain, even if it's not officially declared. Now he holds his own against an admiral-level enemy, or maybe above, and this without the power of any devil fruit. Zoro's bounty was 120 million berries when he became a member of the worst generation, and has since risen to 1.111 billion berries. Before continuing our journey, I would like to ask you if you like the video to like and subscribe. As you can see, our channel is still small, and any help on your side will help us to keep producing content. Basil Hawkins. When you think of a pirate, what comes to mind? Someone who lives on the edge with no care for the future, tossing all caution to the wind. Someone who says cool, edgy things like, "I don't believe in destiny, I make my own luck." Well, I can tell you the pirate you're thinking of is not Basil Hawkins. This tarot-reading pirate knows exactly what's in the cards for him. Cool, composed, and a bit creepy. No, scratch that. Actually, very creepy. Basil Hawkins is very different from the typical rambunctious scoundrels who normally choose piracy as a way of life. But don't let his calm demeanor fool you. This guy has amassed a bounty of more than 100 million berries before crossing the Grand Line. He is born in the North Blue, and his crew were amassing quite a name for themselves before he got manipulated into crossing paths with the fabled pirate Kaido by Scratchman Aoo, another member of the worst generation. Hawkins took one good look at Kaido and realized, hey, the future where I fight this guy and win is near zero. I guess I have to join him. And so he becomes one of Kaido's subordinates. Hawkins is also known as the Magician. He utilizes a series of arcane and occult-themed abilities to control his enemy's fate. Okay, maybe to control is not the right verb to use. What I'm saying is that he likes to play with those tarot cards to see how a fight is going to end or how a person's destiny is coming to an end. From what I know, his tarot prediction is quite accurate. This guy should have taken the path of a trader and played in the stock market and not become a pirate. I wonder if there is a stock market in the One Piece world. Anyways, his devil fruit is the Wara Wara no Mi, which allows him to create straw from his body. This straw can then be used to create voodoo dolls of someone that can take damage meant for Hawkins. For example, imagine punching Hawkins in the face, but your best friend gets knocked out instead. Yeah, this guy likes to trick you this way. Hawkins can also turn himself into a massive scarecrow with bladed claws, as well as summon the Straw Man, an even more massive scarecrow that will attack his enemies or do a whole host of other things, depending on which card is pulled. Hawkins' bounty was originally 249 million, but has since risen to 320 million berries. Marshall D. Teach. Have you been considering entering into a life of piracy, but you just don't know where to begin, or how to turn your seafaring, pillaging dreams into reality? Do you need some kind of mentor or example of how to be the best, the worst pirate you can be? Look no further. Choose Marshall D. Teach, or Blackbeard. This scoundrel doesn't just have the name of the most piratey pirate to ever live, he is literally the epitome of a pirate. Forget all those other goody two-shoe pirate wannabes, Blackbeard is the real deal. Cunning, opportunistic, ruthless, greedy, disloyal, and whatever bad adjective that comes in your mind. Blackbeard is a complete pirate package. Even from a very young age, he was extremely ambitious and already had plans to amass power for himself. Young Marshall was about to teach everybody a very bitter lesson on how trusting a pirate is a very bad idea. He joined the Whitebeard Pirates in order to acquire the Yami Yami no Mi, a Logia devil fruit that is not a normal Logia. When the fruit was later found by Thatch, the commander of the 4th Division of the Whitebeard Pirates, Teach murdered him in cold blood, claiming the fruit and its power for himself. Sounds bad, huh? Don't worry, he's far worse than this. After running away from the Whitebeard crew, he later defeated another division commander, Portuguese D. Ace, that was sent to chase him down and take revenge. The fight of these two guys was a great event in the One Piece lore, and after that, Blackbeard brought him to the Marines and exchanged him for a Warlords of the Seas position. This move would later cause all hell to break loose, leading to one of the best arcs of the One Piece series till now, the Marineford War. Blackbeard's disloyalty doesn't stop there. After becoming one of the warlords, he immediately betrayed the Marines, using his new position to infiltrate the Impel Down prison, a maximum security prison, meant to house the worst of the worst criminals. His goal there was to release several of the most dangerous inmates, recruit them for his crew, the Blackbeard Pirates. Am I forgetting anything? Oh, yeah, he also claimed Whitebeard's territory and stole his devil fruit, making him the only known individual in history to use the power of 2 devil fruits, the Yami Yami no Mi and the Gura Gura no Mi. The Gura Gura make him a Quake Man, and like Whitebeard, he can create earthquakes and tidal waves with his fists. The Yami Yami instead make him a Black Hole Man that can absorb anything, even a devil fruit power. This power is insane and way too OP in my opinion. He can absorb damages, things, living beings, and can nullify a devil fruit power. All this without mentioning the fact that thanks to the Yami Yami, he got the Gura Gura's power too. Blackbeard is so notorious that despite the fact that he's not a rookie, he was included with the Supernovas as a member of the worst generation. Due to his power, cunning, and tendency to betray and usurp virtually everybody, he currently has the highest bounty. After resigning from the 7 warlords, Blackbeard's bounty was 2 billion, 246 billion, and 600,000 berries. That has now risen to 3 billion, 996 billion berries. Capone Bez. Ever wondered what it would be like if a character from The Godfather found themselves in One Piece? If your answer is no, then you should just keep watching this video. Capone Bez is just that character. Introducing Capone Bez, the Mafia Don of the Seas. Originally the leader of one of the 5 great families of the West Blue, Bez is so ambitious that he did not hesitate to eliminate the leaders of the other families and take all the power for himself. After a while, the only dominance in the West Blue wasn't enough for him, and he decided to turn his attention to the rest of the world. If I've learned anything from my midnight binge of Goodfellas, it's that the world of the Mafia is a treacherous one, where everything can change in an instant. One moment you're eating a nice plate of spaghetti and meatballs for your main course, but you hear a car pull up outside, and the next moment, you're eating some delicious bullets for dessert. To survive in that world, one has to have an impeccable sense of planning, situational awareness, and a wide array of tricks up their sleeve that allow them to get the upper hand on their opponents, and Capone Bez has all of these to a T. Bez has eaten the Shiro Shiro no Mi, a devil fruit that makes him a castle man. It's a funny and interesting ability. It gives him the ability to house a fortress-like pocket dimension within his body, inside of which he can hide weapons, tools, and even his entire army, unleashing them on any unsuspecting foes at a moment's notice. In a pinch, he can even turn himself into a giant fortress form, complete with all the weapons and defenses expected. The cool part is that when he becomes a castle fortress, he's able to move with the tracks like a tank. Since leaving his homeland in the West Blue, he has become a very feared rookie pirate. As a supernova, he originally had a bounty of 138 million berries, which has since become 350 million. Jewelry Bonnie. The worst generation are often regarded as problem children by the world government, and for one of them, that tag is more literal than most people suspect. When it comes to childishness, Bonnie takes the cake. And I mean that literally, because not only is she an actual child, but she also has a gigantic appetite and will, in fact, take all the cakes she can. Contrary to her childish and carefree appearance, Bonnie's story is one of real love and sacrifice between those who call each other family. Bonnie was born in the Sorbet Kingdom, located in the South Blue, to her mother Guinea and Bartholomew Kuma, her father, who were both members of the Revolutionary Army. I guess being a thorn in the side of the world government runs in the blood, huh? Anyway, due to experiments conducted on her mother, Bonnie inherited her mother's sapphire scales disease, a fatal illness which causes the patient to develop sapphire-like growth on their skin and then die. Bonnie was given only 10 years to live. Because of this disease, she lived a very sheltered and isolated life. As one would expect, all of this was very tough for a young girl to go through, but she had the love of her father to help her through it all. Finding a cure for her was not easy, and in the end, Kuma had to come to deal with his enemy, the world government. He accepted to become a mindless automation slave in exchange for the cure that Vegapunk only can give. After Bonnie got healed, Kuma would later leave home, forbidden by his contract to ever see his daughter again. It is his absence that would later prompt Bonnie to use her age-shifting abilities to hide her real age. She's 12 years old, by the way. Hit the seas and explore the world in order to find him. She would then run into a group of fishermen who agreed to help her look for her father and formed her crew, the Bonnie Pirates. Bonnie's devil fruit is the Toshi Toshi no Mi, which allows her to alter her age, as well as the ages of others. The power of this fruit does not stop there, but can transform the user into someone he imagines in a distorted future. For example, if Bonnie imagines that she can become strong like Nika, she can gain that kind of power for a moment. This is a power-up that I didn't expect to come. The story of Bonnie is very tragic, and, in my opinion, one of the most moving, since now, maybe even more moving than the sinking of Going Merry. I leave this to you in the comments. Bonnie is the only female member of the worst generation, as well as the only one who can eat as much as Monkey D. Luffy. When Bonnie became a supernova, her bounty was 140 million. It has since risen to 320 million berries. Eustace Kid. Where Bonnie's appearance is very misleading, Eustace Kid is exactly how he looks. Hot-headed, hot-tempered, and ready to pick a fight at the slightest provocation. He is not afraid of anybody and will often bite off more than he can chew, even challenging someone more powerful than him, like one of the 4 emperors, without any care for his own life. It was this foolhardy approach that caused him to lose his arm when battling Shanks, and gets imprisoned and tortured by Kaido. He is such a punk that he doesn't care about civilians. When he's chasing a target or has to fight someone, he just can't see the surroundings. At that moment, everything and everyone is just trash. A bit like Blackbeard, Eustace Kid, who is also named after a famous real-life pirate, has been a runt from the get-go. Born in South Blue, Eustace and his 3 friends were the heads of 4 gangs that controlled the island. The background story about Kid is quite straightforward. Before he became a famous pirate, Kid was living in Kutsuku, an island in the South Blue, not affiliated with the world government. When he was a kid, he used to play and pass time with Killer and a girl, Victoria Shilton Dolyanika, who was his crush. When the girl later got killed by the criminal gang that ruled the city, Kid joined forces with Heat and Wire in order to rebel and take revenge. Many years later, he founded his crew with Killer, with whom 2 years before the beginning of the narration, he became famous in the Southern Sea. He then entered the Grand Line, gaining a bad reputation due to the many massacres among civilians committed during the journey. But hold on, just think about that for a second. He was a gang leader, lost the love of his life to murder, waged a violent war in revenge, before turning to a life of piracy at such a young age. All of this happened while he was practically still a kid. No wonder he's so messed up and violent. Kid uses the Jiki Jiki no Mi Devil Fruit, which allows him to control magnetic forces and metals. He uses his powers mainly in combat, as demonstrated when the pirate sends back a cannonball fired by the Marines. He also assembles attractive metal objects to create a huge arm capable of hitting several hordes of enemies at once, as well as being used as a sort of shield. If he has large quantities of metal objects at his disposal, he can also assemble a huge golem around his body or create a gigantic bull that overwhelms the opponent. After he awakens his power, Kid is able to assign a magnetic pole to everything and everyone and is able to create a super cannon-like weapon called Railgun. Don't ask me how he can do that by just amassing random metal stuff altogether. I just say that this move is very awesome. Kid originally had a bounty of 315 million berries, but due to his massive threat level, utter disregard for innocent civilian life, and defeat of Big Mom, one of the 4 world emperors which he accomplished with the help of Trafalgar D. Law, Eustace Kid has a bounty of a whopping 3 billion berries. Killer. With a name like that, I wonder what this guy's all about. I'm thinking he might be a tactical, pacifist type of pirate. You know, those who like to talk things out and come to a mutual understanding that benefits all the involved parties. What do you think? Okay, bad joke, but between the name, the blades, and the mask, this guy instantly gives off serious horror movie serial killer vibes, and not to mention his laughing after he ate a smile. That is very creepy if you ask me. Imagine you're walking on a street, and he approaches you with a mask like that, laughing in that way. Ugh. I think I got goosebumps just now. Anywho's, Killer is a very close friend to Kid. They've known each other since childhood. He was one of the original gang leaders that joined Kid to form the Kid Pirates, as said before. Like the rest of the crew, he is violent and bloodthirsty, though he displays a lot more restraint than Kid himself. His role is similar to that of Zoro. He is the right hand to the captain. The parallels between the two don't end here. They're both extremely loyal to their captain, are the only 2 members of the worst generation who aren't captains, and the only 2 who do not use devil fruits in combat, but rely more on their weapon techniques and physical abilities. Of course, Killer is also considered as a swordsman like Zoro. Killer uses weapons called Punishers, consisting of a pair of rotating blades, and has shown to be very skilled in their use, so much so that he knows how to generate shockwaves capable of hitting the enemy from the inside. As Kamazo, the name he took when he was forced to work for Kurozumi Orochi during the Wano arc. He has instead wielded 2 sickles, which he knows how to use skillfully, although by his own admission at a lower level than his blades. As a supernova, his bounty was 162 million berries, but has since increased to 200 million berries. X-Drake. Imagine an undercover cop who was so good at acting as a criminal that he became one of the most wanted and hated criminals in the world. That's the story of X-Drake, also known as Red Flag. But first, a bit of backstory. You know those people whose job seems to be their entire personality? Drake's father, Diaz Barrel, was one of those. An upright man and hero as a Marine, Diaz Barrel was a role model for his son, who wanted nothing more than to be like him. At some point, he turned towards a life of piracy, and his personality took a turn for the worse. In typical pirate fashion, Barrel became dishonest, greedy, and even started physically abusing his poor son. Drake continued to idolize his father, holding on to the memory of the stalwart and justice man he had been as a Marine. After his father and crew were captured by Don Quixote do Flamingo in a business deal gone wrong, Drake escaped and was later taken in by the Marines, whom he later joined. He would later then fake his retirement as a Marine, become the leader of the clandestine undercover unit Sword, and pursue a career as a pirate as a cover to infiltrate the ranks of the Notorious Beast pirates. Drake is quite an interesting character, unlike many of the other members of the worst generation who had defined personalities and strong wills from early on. Drake is currently a much different individual from the one he was as a child. As a child, he was, well, let's say a bit of a coward, to put things honestly. He would always hide during raids by his father's crew, and even abandon his father, running away when he was captured by Doflamingo. It's hard to believe that he would turn into someone capable of reaching the elite Marine rank of Rear Admiral, and then enter a role as a double agent so convincingly that he has become one of the most notorious pirates of the new generation, but he did it. His growth reminds me a lot of that of Kobe, from a coward to a hero. Drake is calm, cool, and collected, even in the most dire situations, keeping track of every detail to report it when necessary. Drake is a user of an ancient Zoan-type devil fruit, the first shown in the story. Zoan-type devil fruits, for those of you who don't remember what kind of fruits they are the fruits that allow their users to transform into animals, or half-animals, in a hybrid form. In the Drake case, His fruit gave him the ability to turn into an Allosaurus, which is basically like a T-Rex, granting him an enormous bust in strength, tenacity, and ferocity. As a pirate, he has a bounty of 222 million berries. Fun fact, the X in his name actually stands for the Roman numeral for the number 10, not the letter X, since the number 10 in Spanish is diez, which is his and his father's last name. Trafalgar D. Waterlaw. Trafalgar D. Law. A bit of a weird name for a pirate, don't you think? It's kind of like a plumber named Martin D. Leak, or a pilot named Jake D. Crash, or something. Anyway, I hope you found that joke funny because what we're going to talk about next is no laughing matter. And that is the origins of the pirate known as the Surgeon of Death. Law was born in Flevens in the North Sea. His childhood coincided with the moment in which the symptoms of amber lead poisoning began to manifest. 14 years before the beginning of the narrative, when Law was 10 years old, the nations bordering Flevens closed their borders fearing a contagion and killed those who tried to cross them in search of a cure. Law decided not to board a ship provided by the soldiers to help the children of Flevens escape in order to stay close to his sister, who was seriously ill from the disease that had spread throughout the country. Shortly after, however, he discovered that the soldiers had lied, finding all his peers lifeless. His parents were also killed, and his sister died in the fire that was started in the hospital where she was staying. Law was the only inhabitant of Flevens who managed to save himself by crossing the border, hiding among the corpses. He became so bloodthirsty, wanting to destroy the entire world. To achieve his goal, he covered himself with bombs to be able to appear before Doflamingo and Spider Miles, asking him to make him a pirate. The latter, surprised by the craziness of the kid, welcomed him into his crew. Here, he met Corazon, who threw him out of the window as soon as he met him. Ironically though, the part of the story where the suicidal little boy joins the pirate crew is where things start to take a brighter turn. Corazon, or Don Quixote Rocinante, actually is a good guy, and later takes care of Law and teaches him a lot of things. Corazon, moved by the story of his life, decided to steal the Ope Ope fruit from his brother and gave it to Law, cause this is the only way he could be cured. Doflamingo wasn't happy for the betrayal of his brother. He chased Corazon when he was trying to hide Law in a chest. It ended up bad for Rocinante. Doflamingo didn't hesitate to shoot him, even though it was his own brother. This, of course, shocked Law and promised to get revenge for what was done. They say gold is forged in fire, that the best people are forged through pain and trials. Well, that definitely seems to be the case for Trafalgar Law. His complex and tragic history makes him one of the most awesome characters of the worst generation, with the most awesome and versatile power in the world of One Piece. I think I don't need to explain too much about his fruit power. He basically can do anything when he opens the operation room. The only limit and weakness is the range. Inside the room, he is basically a god. He can teleport, cut you alive, change your body with that of another, take your heart, and everything you can imagine. The Waken power is interesting too. Instead of creating a room surrounding an area, he can now put the room inside an object, like a sword, and manipulate him as he pleases. Law's bounty as a supernova was 200 million, but has since risen to a massive 3 billion berries. Yurogi. This pirate, known as the Mad Monk, can always be seen sporting a massive grin on his face, like he's always on cloud 9. That's a bit of a joke, because Yurogi is the only member of the worst generation who comes from one of the Sky Islands, instead of a part of the sea. The Mad Monk, just like many other members of the worst generation, is an amazing combatant. He's amazingly strong and able to get stronger by turning damage done to him into more strength, through the use of an unnamed devil fruit. The Mad Monk is powerful enough to take down Charlotte Snack, one of Big Mom's top commanders. I find this guy very interesting. We still don't know much about him, despite him being very chill and smiling almost always. I hope he doesn't end up like Apu, another supernova that was very interesting when introduced. Yurogi's bounty is 108 million berries. Scratchman Aoo. Everything about Scratchman Aoo, from his name to his double-elbowed arms, which make him constantly look like he's scratching a disc during combat, to his piano key-shaped teeth, to his hair that looks like amplifier voltage, tells you that this guy is really into music. He is even rapping when speaking. His pirate crew, one of the few in One Piece with an actual origin name that's not just the name of the captain, is called the On-Air Pirates. It's obvious that Apu is a true artist at heart, who loves a good show. What was not obvious, on the other hand, is that Apu was more than he appeared to be and was working as an informant for Kaido. He was the one who secretly set up the meeting with Kaido that would get Kid captured and tortured, as well as cause Hawkins to join the Beast Pirates. I thought he was someone like Yurogi, who likes playing solo games, but it came out that he is quite a bastard. He likes to deceive others and does not hesitate to betray them to achieve his goals. His devil fruit, the Odo Odo no Mi, allows him to turn parts of his body into musical instruments and launch a variety of melodic attacks. These attacks are nearly instant and can work on anyone who hears them. It's not very clear how the attack hit the enemy. They're not shockwaves or sound waves that travel from Apu to the target, but they're more like a spell that Apu casts by playing the music and then hitting the target who listens to the music. The fact that it's like a music spell actually can be a weakness, cause if the target finds a way to not hear the sound, the attack fails. Apu's bounty was originally 198 million berries, but has since grown to 350 million berries. Monkey D. Luffy. I think I don't have to explain too much about him, right? The main character of the series, the stereotype of an ahodere. He has all the characteristics of the main character of all shonen manga. Of course, he is the worst of the worst generation in the Marine's view. He hates rules. He hates following orders or etiquette. He wants to be free and do whatever he likes without bowing to anyone. In my opinion, this is the Oda's Pirates philosophy while he started One Piece. I guess you all noticed that in this universe, the pirates are not all bad guys like Blackbeard or Doflamingo. Most of them are people that want to be individually free, that don't like to be part of society. Luffy embodies this perfectly, friendly and respectful with people who respect him, especially if they give him food. He doesn't give a heck about authority, and he doesn't hesitate to go against it if he finds it wrong. Look at Water 7 arc, what he did at Enies Lobby, or Impel Down. Do I have to talk about Marineford, or that time he hit the Celestial Dragon at Shibondi? That moment is still the best moment of One Piece till now. Now, Luffy is not just one of the worst generation, but has become one of the 4 emperors defeating Kaido and Big Mom. His personal growth is slow, but has some very intense moments, like that time he had an argument with Usopp that ended very badly. The most shocking moment for him, of course, is the death of his brother Ace, a great trauma from which he barely managed to emerge, and only thanks to the help of Jinbei. Damn, just remembering this makes me emotional. After the time skip, he is a bit more mature in serious moments, but still an idiot all the time. He got a huge power-up after the time skip. He mastered the 3 types of Haki, and during the fight against Kaido, he awakened his Devil Fruit power. Let's talk about this Gomu Gomu no Mi that is not a paramecia that makes you a rubber man. It came out to be a mythical Zoan that transforms you into the god Nika, a being that seems to come from Tom and Jerry or from the Looney Tunes. It's like a cartoon character into a cartoon, if you get what I'm saying. In this form, Luffy is very OP. His stretching ability is more powerful, and like all the awakened fruit, is able to change the property of the surrounding and the enemies too. He basically can change the shape of everything he touches or punches.